Hey everybody, I'm Brian Shearer. I'm a comic book artist and writer, and I've been doing a lot of work over the years on books like Transformers, G.I. Joe, as well as some of my creator-owned stuff like Gunship Thunder Punch and William the Last. And today I'm going to show you how to draw Optimus Prime using the XP Pen Artist Pro 15.6. The Artist Pro 15.6 has 8 customizable shortcut keys plus 2 on the pen, and the red dial is really useful for zooming in or out or adjusting the brush sizes, however you want to use it. It's got over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, which I have found really picks up the nuance when doing line work. Alright, so I've got Clip Studio set up. I've got 11 by 17 inch template here, and we're going to start with a red pencil. You can use whatever color you'd like. I switch between using red and blue. You can use whatever you're used to. I just like it because the different color when I go to ink helps my eye differentiate the sketch from what I'm inking. So we're going to start here with Optimus Prime, and we're going to do kind of the head down into the chest, or since he's a truck, this would be the cab. But we're going to start with a circle, basic circle here, just like you would with a person, and then we're going to go from there. And I like to do these little construction lines just so we can see where he's looking, and where the eyes and everything goes. So it's just like drawing a person until you get to about here, and then you have to start fleshing things out. So I like to start with, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit. There we go. He's got this part on his forehead that kind of sticks up, and it's a good landmark for me to start with. And you can interpret the character however you'd like, just as long as you hit the basic landmarks, the things that make Optimus Prime Optimus Prime. And we're going with the old 80s version, so he's going to have the mask faceplate here. And we're just going to be very loose at this stage. We'll tighten things up later, but we're just, right now, I'm coming around the side of his head. We're thinking in 3-dimensional shapes. And this little faceplate, or not faceplate, but the, I wish these things had names. I wish they had like official Transformer anatomy names, but they don't really. All right, so we're gonna use, a lot of Transformers have this little side, again, they're almost like little things that guard their face. But if you think of the Transformer as a face wearing a helmet, and all this is the helmet part, and this is kind of basically human proportions, it helps you work that out. So we're going to just make sure those are even. We're going to just roughly put in where the eyes would be. We're not worrying too much about shapes. This little part right here needs to come down. Worry about big shapes. And then his nose comes down into the mask, and we're gonna just add some contours to it. Here's where the chin would be. And a lot of these robots they've broken up the planes of the face into very angular shapes. So that's what a lot of these lines are under the eyes, just where the angle of the face changes. But we're going to put a lot of that in shadow. I think it's a good effect, because especially since his visor, he's got this little part right here that's kind of coming down over his eyes a bit. Now Optimus Prime has some pointy ends here. Again, it's one of the landmarks. I don't know what we should call them. As we come around that side, I like to kind of make these a little curved. It could be angular or curved, just as long as you're hitting the basic shape. All right, so he's got where the ears would be, right here, and an antenna. I guess that's what it would be. So you think he's got 3 things up here on his helmet portion of his head. He's sometimes got a little bit that kind of comes forward on this plate side little cheek guard. We'll call it that. We'll call it the cheek guard. But the three things are this middle part on this forehead right here. It has a little grate in it. The 2 points and the antenna and the mask. If you get those three things down, there's really 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Whenever you draw Optimus Prime, it'll be recognizable as Optimus Prime. You could simplify those shapes. Now I've got my XP pen shortcut keys here on the pen to zoom and move. I just find that it's a good workflow. And I've got the top 2 keys, which I use the most, are the pen and eraser. And that's so I can use the eraser to kind of go in here and help simplify things where the planes would be if you're having trouble seeing because your things are getting a little too busy. So I find that's just my personal workflow. All right, so he's got where his like up here, it's got a little it's not really a vent, but it's kind of drawn like one. And we're staying loose, just seeing where things connect, getting the plane, the angles, the planes, all that right. So this is the side, so this is going to be there on this side. So when we have light, we go to color, and we'll color in the next video. Right now I'm going to do penciling and inking. And this is all up in shadow. And a lot of the dark areas, and especially when you're inking, just fill it in all black. It'll give it a little bit of grounding. It'll help it have weight, especially if it's a standalone, just inked piece and not colored. All right, we're gonna go his neck. Now, when you're drawing robots neck, you're kind of just taking human anatomy, but just making it mechanical. So these muscles in here for the person turn into these little kind of mechanical shapes. But a lot of it's going to be, since it's underneath his chin area, it's just going to disappear into black anyway. And as things get further away from the camera, like this part right here, I could make this more interesting by just making all that. And I think I will just make all that dark. So we're going to have the light coming from this direction here, which means over here it's going to be dark, and it's going to make a difference when you go to ink in just a second. All right, so we're going to come down here to his chest, which would be the cab of the truck when he is in truck form, and add these lights that are usually on the top of a semi truck. And we're just gonna zoom out a little bit. I'm going to make a little bit of his the windshield visible, because we're kind of doing a bust, just the chest and head portion here. Again, we're being right now kind of loose. And I want to give this some three-dimensional look, so that I'm imagining the window kind of set back inside. Now you could go through and draw windshield wipers on here, like right, because that's actually what the truck would be. It just depends on how you want to do it. Maybe that stuff disappears when he transforms. So